I used to have a pretty serious phone problem. Sometimes I'd open the same app and then close it, and then open it 2, 3, or even 4 times in a row without even noticing. I tried quitting cold turkey, but that didn't really work for me because my phone was pretty baked into my life. Like a warm turkey. I ended up fixing my phone problem based on some cool research from the 60s. It wasn't easy, but I do absolutely recommend it. You have a limited number of minutes until you die, and those minutes are being stolen from you. What is a Skinner box? The term comes from psychologist B.F. Skinner, who ran experiments on pigeons. He would put them in a box, the Skinner box, and give them a button to press that could give them food. For one group in the experiment, pressing the button gave no food, so predictably, the pigeons did not keep pressing it. For another group, when the button was pressed, food would come out. Great, they pressed the button when they were hungry. But the last group was subjected to something called a variable schedule. Basically, when they pressed the button, there was some chance that food might come out. This time, the pigeons pressed the button over and over and over, the food accumulating and going uneaten. Because the uncertainty of whether a button press would be rewarded with food was hacking the reward circuit of their brains and giving them dopamine just from pressing the button. There's been a lot of interesting research into processes like dopamine ramps. Basically, normally when a rat knows food is coming, there's a dopamine spike, up down. But if the rat has to do something to get the food, like press a button, the dopamine stays high while the rat anticipates the action. I'll cover a lot of this in depth in a future video on dark patterns, but the main takeaway is that these findings also seem to apply to humans. And this strange hack for the way our brains release dopamine kind of explains why you might find immediate short-term pleasure in scrolling your phone, but when you look back at that time you spent, you regret it. It's not even clear what you enjoyed. So in contrast, if a friend sends you a funny video and you watch it and enjoy it, you got dopamine from the video. Just like the rats get a dopamine spike from actual food. But if you just scroll through the videos, you're not necessarily getting dopamine from the content. You're getting it from the scrolling and the anticipation of something good. Scrolling is just an artificial way of tricking your brain into feeling good for no reason. Another takeaway from Skinner's research is that there are some primary conditioner rewards related to biological needs, like food, water, sex, etc. And these have a diminishing effect once an organism is sated or has reached the limit of their needs. But there are secondary reinforcers, drives outside of biological needs, like accumulating wealth and social standing. These don't have a satiation point. You're never wealthy enough or popular enough. You'll always want more. So what's particularly concerning is that both of these forces together, the brain short-circuiting hack and the insatiable drive for more shiny things, likes, amusement, are really powerful. If what you're anticipating has no satiation point, you can get stuck in a loop of seeking it indefinitely. This knowledge has been very clearly leveraged by casinos, slot machines, mobile games, video games. If you never got the good thing, you would learn and stop coming back. That's why they introduce carefully tuned reward schedules, how often to drop a reward like a gambling payout or a high-value video game skin to keep you maximally hooked. And on phones, reward schedules can be personalized for each person based on their tendencies to get them to stay on the app longer. We also see these phenomena exploited in the endless scroll of social media apps. Not every post or video is going to be good, but that's okay. That's by design, because a mix of good and meh content makes you keep wanting to scroll for more. You're not doing it for the reward of the good content. You're doing it for the dopamine your brain is giving you just from the act of scrolling. You get into a flow state and you don't have a chance to self-reflect. Remember to go to bed, remember to do other things, unless something interrupts you and interrupts the flow of dopamine. That used to happen when you got to the end of a page and had to load another, but the endless scroll is there to make sure you're never interrupted. You can scroll forever, frictionless. Now, the term Skinner box refers to the actual operant conditioning chamber, but it now colloquially, along with dark pattern, refers to any design pattern that hacks the reward pathways of your brain to get you to do something that you wouldn't without that design. Once you begin to recognize Skinner boxes, you'll see them everywhere, but that's a good thing because recognizing them is the first step to breaking free of them. So here's what I did to fix my phone addiction. Quitting cold turkey might work for some people, but it might not be possible or sustainable for others, like me. I just started with a simple mental exercise, just to stretch my self-awareness muscles. Here's how it works. Before you open your app, start a 5-minute timer on your phone. When the timer is up, pause the app and ask yourself the following questions. First question, how did this experience make me feel? Neutral, is there something else that I could do that would make me feel something? Positive, what else could I be doing that would also give me that feeling? Negative, is there a useful way for me to harness this negative energy? Or is it just draining me? Second question, was this a good use of my time? Did it bring me closer to others, update my understanding of the world, or even calm or relax me in a way that will give me the energy to do something else I enjoy? Now restart the timer, go back to your app, and repeat. The goal is not to force you to give up something you truly like. The goal is to try to train yourself to access that self-awareness breakthrough in the middle of the flow state. What I found by doing this a ton was that I gained the ability to actually evaluate how I was feeling in real time. I started being aware of whether I was actually enjoying what I was watching or reading. And I found I generally wasn't enjoying myself most of the time. Usually, the content itself was at best neutral. And those true feelings started to become more real than the dopamine-fueled, glazed-over trance I was in before. I started to open the app, remember my real feelings, and close it again automatically. I've heard about other people using a timer and then closing the app afterwards, but I don't think that would work for me because what if I'm not done? I don't like depriving myself of things because then it makes me want them more and complicates the already unhealthy relationship. The beauty of reflecting after the timer and then going back to the app is that I could have as much as I wanted, but my appreciation shifted, and then I didn't want it anymore. This may lead to you finding a way to have a healthier relationship with these apps, or it may lead to you realizing that a healthy relationship isn't possible. What is important is that you are able to somewhat poison yourself to the experience of a Skinner box. It will slowly just kind of stop working. Being in the Skinner box loop won't feel good anymore. It will feel exactly as hollow as it actually is. Corporations spent decades convincing me that the best life is a frictionless one. Stop grocery shopping, just use DoorDash. Stop going to shows or movies, stream entertainment from your phone. Stop spending time learning and evaluating the source of information, just trust AI. With all the rough edges of life shaved away, corporations were saving me so much time. And guess what I did with all that extra time? I scrolled on the endless, life-sucking void that is my phone. The technology lords giveth, and the technology lords taketh away. But then I had a brush with mortality, and it really struck me that my time on Earth is limited. I get one life to experience all the beauty and meaning and wonder this meat brain can hold. Some technological ways I was spending my time were really great. Movies and TV shows, video games, even social media forums were excellent ways to learn about the way other people experience the world, expose me to new ideas. But I found a common thread running between many of the problems I had with technology: the insidious and pervasive phenomena of the Skinner box. So to be clear, I don't think that these platforms are inherently bad. I personally love reading Reddit posts to decompress at the end of the day. What gives me a healthy relationship with these platforms is introducing friction, making them somewhat harder to use, and adding natural breakpoints to let me exit the loop. I'm personally a bit extreme, but I don't use any app that doesn't have a natural breakpoint, an end of page or content, which means I don't really use any apps currently except YouTube. I only go on YouTube when I already have time I need to fill, so there's a natural endpoint. I do have a weakness for Reddit, but I don't want to use the app because of the endless scrolling Skinner box. So I came up with my own kind of insane solution. I have 2 browsers installed on my phone, one for searching and one just for Reddit and webcomics. Each tab on my Reddit browser is a separate subreddit, which I have sorted by top of the month. This works really well for me because I know the quality will generally be getting lower as I scroll, so I don't have a huge drive to keep going, hoping like a loot box I get a really good post. I slowly rotate through the subreddit tabs as I lose interest, and by the time I get back to the top, the month's content has refreshed. It feels like a pretty healthy relationship to me, if not kind of insane to everyone else. I'm really not on other sites like Instagram, but I imagine you could do something similar, a tab for each of the people you follow. Again, kind of extreme, but I encourage you to find ways to add friction, so you can still get what makes you happy from these platforms. Friction isn't necessarily bad, it's what can give us time for self-awareness. The best life isn't a frictionless one, it's one where you spend the most time doing what you value. If your life is too frictionless, you're just sliding down the slick toilet bowl funnel of a meaningless life towards the grave. Thanks for watching. Bonus Shoutout. When I was younger, I was lucky enough to see this extra credits. So I went through my Skinner box shattering process before a lot of this started to get really bad. Interestingly, it was enough to prevent me from getting hooked on new apps as they came out, because I could recognize what was going on. For me, this is really manifested in my ability to appreciate video games, especially some RPGs. I'm basically allergic to empty points and leveling loops at this point. I need something of substance, and I think that drives me to spend my time playing much more interesting and meaningful games. So thanks, extra credits.